Everyone has a preference when it comes to waste boards. Some people use the stock waste board, some people make their own with threaded inserts, some use aluminum extrusion. My Instagram followers have seen me make all sorts of crazy clamping gadgets and waste boards. But these days I mostly use double-sided mounting tape. I have my X-Carve attached to a pair of MDF sheets that are screwed into my workbench. This helps with rigidity and reduces vibration. With my lower than usual waste board, the Z-axis wheels will go past the end of the aluminum extrusion if I go too far. Normally, I just tape down a sacrificial piece of wood and then tape my workpiece onto that. That is far from ideal though, so it's time to make a more permanent waste board. I happen to have some old and only slightly water damaged MDF. I wouldn't use MDF on anything that I expect it to last, but I'm eventually going to plunge an end mill into this. I might as well accept it now. I measure out the waste board and cut it to size. It's not quite the full depth of the CNC machine, but since I can't really cut behind the router, that really doesn't matter. After cutting the waste board to size, I plan the placement of the screws that will hold it in position. Then I use a countersink bit in my drill press, minus the one in the middle that I can't reach, and then I finish them up by hand. I use some screws to anchor the board in place, making sure that the heads of the screws go somewhat deep inside the MDF, that way I don't hit them as I'm milling. Manipulating the machine by hand, I use the router to outline the maximum cutting area of the machine. This gives me the dimensions to use when designing my toolpath. I normally film without the dust boot on, but surfacing this MDF is going to be a huge mess. I put it on. There's another challenge to overcome here. I'm not using a proper surfacing end mill, but one intended for a handheld router. That means that the shaft is too short for the bristles of the dust boot, so I have to remove them. Jog the router around by hand to make sure the dust boot has clearance, and yeah, it doesn't. Alright then, off to the dust boot and off to the races. And the battery died in my camera. So here's the finished surface. Okay, so this next part is going to be a little confusing. I'm demonstrating here how I use mounting tape to attach the workpiece to the waste board. It just so happens that this piece of MDF fits in the square of my cutting area almost exactly. This is just a coincidence. I got the double-sided mounting tape at a local discount store, but I'll post some comparable tape in the description. This tape works particularly well because you can use a putty knife to break up the foam and free your piece. If you remove the sticky residue right away, it's pretty easy to get off. There's a little give to it, so it does marginally detract from the precision of your cut, but it does generally do a good job of holding things to the waste board under fairly aggressive milling feeds and speeds. That being said, always wear safety gear and never ever leave your CNC machine unattended while it's running. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more of my content, hit that subscribe button. And you can check out more woodworking on Instagram at RickDIY.